Welcome to this second Discover video. As we talk about life with Jesus and understanding what life with Jesus could look like, and we begin to understand that really life with Jesus is something that we respond to His initiative. He invites us into relationship, and then we make this decision to live lives surrendering to Him and to keep connecting with other people and live in these Jesus-shaped relationships and to find healing, the healing that He very graciously and kindly wants us to experience with Him, and then to experience His unleashing in our lives. As we live in that pattern that again, He only out of His graciousness invites us into to experience full life with Him, there's some really good news. The really good news isn't necessarily that it's easy or that we always get it right or that we always do it perfectly. But the really good news is actually that we don't have to do it alone. Because it can be a little bit challenging to follow Jesus, because we do live in a challenging and broken world. But again, one more move of Jesus' graciousness is that He says, hey, you don't have to do this alone. You don't even have to follow me alone. I'm going to give you a gift, and that gift is going to be my church. And I know a lot of us, we have different ideas and views and even experiences with the church. So let's just real simply define it. The church is really people from all over the world who have decided to follow Jesus, to follow Him in this pattern of life He invites us into, to follow Him in this pattern in which He invites us to be in relationship with Him. Again, to live surrendering to Him, to keep connecting to other people who are following Him, to find His healing and to experience His unleashing of Him using us for good in the world. All the people who are following Jesus around the world, that's His church. That's the church of Jesus. But here's what's really important for us to remember, is that doesn't mean that's people doing it perfectly, not following Jesus perfectly. We don't always get it all right. It really just means that it's people who are decidedly and passionately following Jesus. Not perfectly, but decidedly and passionately following Jesus. That's His church. So it's not necessarily an organization or a building, which we often think of when we think about the church. Now, certainly, the people who are the church, that often gather in buildings and gather in places where they can be together. But the church is the people. And so when we think about the church as people, something else starts to become pretty evident to us. And it's that people have a personality, which means that local expressions of the church of Jesus, that they have personalities too. While the real church of Jesus is really centered on this thing of following Him and, again, living in this pattern of life with Him, each local expression and each different community around the globe kind of picks up their own personality of how they live that out. The same is true of Journey. Just like I have a personality and you have a personality, Journey, this church, has a personality. There's a few things that maybe we could say, hey, these are ways we would describe the personality of Journey. Well, one is that we try and be really simple. We know that life is complex enough. We don't want to make being a part of the church, being with other Jesus followers and making a difference in the world, we don't want to make it any more complex than it has to be. So we want to be real simple. Part of the way we stay simple is we just stay devoted to one thing. We're really just about helping as many people as possible live in a life-giving relationship with Jesus. That's it. You can make it even more simple and say we're just about more life for more people. That's why we get up in the morning. That's why we gather as a church. That's why we encourage each other. That's why we try and help each other get to know and experience more of Jesus so that we can experience more of His life, but so that we can be about more life for even more people. So we try and be very simple and just really designed and hubbed and scheduled and planned and intentional around that singular mission. We want to be simple. We also might describe ourselves as being a part of high anticipation. Everything that we're doing with Jesus is really His idea. When the church does gather in a building to worship, it's His idea. He invited us to worship. When we rally around the Scriptures, He gave us the Scriptures to be a light out in front of us to guide our steps. When we gather inside of relationships, He created relationships. When we pray, He created the ability for conversation with Him, and He invited us into it. When we serve other people, That's his idea. He came to serve. When we tell the story of Jesus, that's his idea. He first came to tell his own story and then empowered us to do the same thing. And so when we engage with Jesus in any way, in any of his things, we do it with high anticipation. We say, if it's his idea, why wouldn't he be there? Why wouldn't he be present? Why wouldn't we get to see the great expression of his love and his power and his strength and his transformation? So when the church gathers on a Sunday, or the church gathers in a small group, or some portion of the church serves in a community, we're not hoping that somehow Jesus shows up. We show up with the high anticipation that he invited us there. He invited us into this moment, in this opportunity. So we live in every environment with really high anticipation. We also want to be fast forgiving. Again, the church isn't made up of a bunch of people who are perfect. In fact, the church is made up of a bunch of people who realize that we're not perfect, and it's why we need Jesus. It's why we need his life and his forgiveness. And because of that, we understand that we're going to bump into each other on occasion, and we just want to say we're going to be fast to forgive. We understand we're going to disappoint each other. We're not always going to say the right thing or do the right thing or respond in the right way, and we might have some unmet expectations. If we do life together long enough, probably going to disappoint each other. And we know that in all other arenas of life, like even in family, the people we love most. So even in the church, we just want to say we're marked by being people who are fast to forgive one another. Fast to forgive one another. Bumps and bruises, they're going to happen. We're not going to pretend to be perfect. We're not going to pretend to always get it right. So when we don't, be fast to forgive one another. And then one more thing, just to, not an exhaustive list, but one more way you might describe the personality of Journey is that we're just ridiculously generous. We want to hold all things loosely. We want to give ourselves and we want to give our things away. And our generosity isn't just about our money. It's certainly about our money. Jesus has invited us to be generous, but we're generous with just who we are. We're generous with our heart and our passion, our ideas and our resources and our time and our energy. Why? Because again, it's God's idea. God was generous first to us. He gave us his son, Jesus. He gives us his gifts to live and display. He gives us the opportunity at life with him. So we want to just be generous back. It's one of the most Jesus-like things we can do is be generous. So we hold all things loosely, always just wondering and asking, where today and where in this season and where in this certain period of time, where in this current condition, where can we be generous? Every person, you and me included, we have a personality. And so does every local expression of the church. Now again, our mission is true and it's the same. We want more life for more people. But our personality describes a little bit of the way that we express that and that we live that mission together. Things like being simple, fast to forgive, high anticipation, and full of ridiculous generosity. I hope that's intriguing to you. I hope that personality is attractive to you. If you'd like to explore it a little bit more or just do a little bit more discovering in this process, again, there's some next steps just below this video. I hope that you'll check them out, and then I hope you'll jump in to the third of our Discover videos.